So let's do some practice. Now, using the concept of the scale produces a set series of intervals, and I can memorize what that pattern is. I can remember that in major keys, my major intervals will be my major second, third, sixth, seventh, and my perfect intervals will be my first, fourth, getting ahead of myself, fifth, and eighth. And then in my minor keys, I will have only a major second. Then I will have a minor third, sixth, seventh, and I will keep my perfect first, fourth, fifth, and eighth. And we worked through all of that in the previous video to see how it works. If I keep that in mind, then I can think of those scales, I can think of those keys, and I can analyze any interval. All I do is figure out, does that fit in with the major key, or does that fit in with the minor key? And if it's one of these intervals, a first, a fourth, a fifth, or an eighth, it doesn't matter which key it fits into, as long as it matches one of the two keys, because they're the same, then it is that interval quality. Another way of thinking of it is asking yourself this question. In the key of blank, which is the bottom note, what is blank? And that's the top note. Meaning, in the key of C, what is F? And answering that question will tell us, does that fit in with that key? So in this case, it's what quantity? Well, we start at C, C, D, E, F. It's a fourth. And because it's a fourth, we can use either major or minor to determine which one it is. So let's pick C major. It's easier. It's all natural. So in the key of C major, is F natural? Well, yes, of course, everything in C major is natural. So C and F fits in the key of C major, which means it fits the pattern of C major. In C major, and in any major key, the fourth is perfect. So if this fits with C major's pattern and fits with C major's pitches, then we know it matches the quality of C major. So C to F is a perfect fourth. Again, I'll say that one more time. We know that C major produces a perfect fourth, because every major key produces a perfect fourth. So if this fourth matches C major, we know it's perfect. Well, it does match C major, because C in C major is natural, and the fourth note F in C major is natural, and those are natural, so it matches. Now, it seems a little slow at first if you don't know your key signatures. And every year, a few people just don't trust me. They think that not memorizing their key signatures will be totally fine, and they won't suffer at all for it. And they're wrong. They're really, really, really wrong. The sooner you learn your key signatures and get very, very comfortable reciting, spitting out exactly how many sharps and flats are in any given key, the quicker all the rest of music analysis will come to you. So if you're not there yet, get there really, really soon. Let's do a few more so you can see how this practice works. I'm looking at two notes here. I can figure out the quantity right away. That bottom note's E, E, F, G. I know that that's some kind of third. I don't know what kind of third yet, but I know it's some kind of third. Now, I ask myself this question. In the key of the bottom note, E, what is the top note? What is G in the key of E? Is it sharp? Is it flat? Is it natural? Well, it's a third, so I can pick either E major or E minor. I'll do it both ways, once with E major and once with E minor. But when you're doing it on your own, you can pick whichever one you want. So first way, I'm going to pick E major, because maybe I don't know. I'll just try. In E major, is G sharp, flat, or natural? Well, I know, because I have it memorized, that E major is a sharp key. And E major specifically has 4 sharps: F sharp, C sharp, G sharp, and D sharp. What did I say? F, C, G is one of those sharps. So in E major, G should be sharped. That's not. So if I had E to G sharp, that'd be a major third. This is E to G natural. It's a half step lower than that major third, which means it's a minor third. Any interval that's major and is decreased by a half step becomes minor. Any interval that's minor and is increased by a half step becomes major. So if I'm looking at this, okay, I used E major. I figured it doesn't match E major. It's in fact a half step smaller than that, so it's a minor third. That's my pattern. That's my process. If I wanted to, like I said, I could pick E minor instead. So E minor, I would say, in the key of E minor, what is G? Well, because I have my keys memorized, I know that E minor only has 1 sharp. And that sharp is on F sharp, not G sharp. Which means in the key of E minor, E and G are both natural. That matches E minor. And because it matches E minor, that's a minor third. So either of those routes got me the right answer. And if you don't know if it's major or minor, which you don't if you're analyzing it, just pick a key. Pick major or minor, whichever one you happen to think of the key signature first. So in this case, now I'm looking at an A flat and a C natural. So I can again count how many letters is it? A, B, C. I know it's some kind of third, just like my last one. Well, now I say, okay, A flat. Do I want to do A flat major or A flat minor? You know, this time I'm going to start with A flat minor because I remember that A flat minor is the minor key in which everything is flat. So I know that C should be flat if it were A flat minor. A flat to C flat is a minor third. But this isn't A flat to C flat. This is A flat to C natural. So I took my minor third and I increased it by a half step to be a major third. Again, I didn't have to just know it was A flat minor. If I knew it was A flat minor, I would know the interval already. What if I picked A flat major instead? Well, then I'd say, okay, what is A flat major's key signature? Well, A flat major has 4 flats, B, E, A, and D. Notice I said A as one of those, but I didn't say C. C is not flat in A flat major, which means that this does match the pattern of A flat major. It's a major third. So again, either of those routes would get you the right answer, and they would get it to you pretty quickly. I'm taking a long time to explain every step, but if you have it memorized, it's going to come pretty fast. Let's do a few more. In this case, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is a fifth. And our bottom note is G, our top note is D. So the bottom note, G, that's my key, in the key of G. What is my top note? I'll go ahead and pick G major because I'm guessing probably more of you watching have G major memorized than you do G minor. Maybe you have both. That's great. In G major, is D natural? Yes. Yes, it is. G major has 1 sharp. That sharp is F. It's not D. It's not G. They're both natural. It matches the key. That means it's a perfect fifth. Now, I could have just as easily picked G minor. Because remember, fifths are one of the intervals that are the same in both major and minor. Could have just as easily picked G minor, got the exact same answer. Next one here. Our bottom note here is a D. We're going to count up D, E, F, G, A, B. I know this is some kind of sixth. Now let's find out which kind of sixth it is. My bottom note is D. So I'm going to pick D major. D major has a sharp on F and a sharp on C. D major has no flats. I know that this does not match D major. In D major, everything's natural except F and C, which are sharped, which means that this B should be B natural if this were a major sixth. Because it's not B natural, because it's a B flat, it's a half step smaller than a major sixth, which is a minor sixth. Now, if I had known that D is a sharp key, well, why would I even start with D? What about D minor? D minor is a flat key, and that's a flat. Let me start with that. How many flats are in D minor? Well, just one. B flat. B flat is the one flat in D minor, so that matches perfectly. That's a minor sixth. It matches D flat. Or sorry, it matches D minor because of the flat. So hopefully as you learn your key signatures, you can start to apply these even quicker. Let's do a few more. Bottom one here, we have D and C sharp. So let's count our quantity first. D, E, F, G, A, B, C. That is some kind of seventh. Now, we were just thinking in terms of D minor, and we knew that D minor was a flat key, and D major is a sharp key. I'm using my knowledge to make the next answer even easier. So D major is a sharp key, and we said just a second ago that the sharps in D major are F sharp and C sharp. It matches D major perfectly, which means that's a major seventh. If I had picked D minor, I would have to think D minor is a natural. It's a minor seventh. This is a half step larger. That's a major seventh. I could still get the right answer. Let's count this one here. We've got B flat on bottom. Please don't forget we're in bass clef. Some of you have a tendency of doing that from time to time. We have B flat on bottom, and we go B flat, C, D, E, F, G. So this is some kind of sixth. Now, I like the key of B flat major better than B flat minor. B flat major only has how many flats? 2 flats, B flat and E flat. So there's a B flat, good, checks out, and E flat, which is not here, so it doesn't really matter. And G should be natural, so this is a major sixth. Ta-da, we got the answer. Now let's look over here. We've got B natural this time, right? Flat, won't carry over past a measure line. We've got B natural and A natural. So we can count, and by counting, we determine that that's a 7. And we say in the key of B major, what's my key signature? What should A be in B major? Well, A should be sharped in B major because the key of B major has 5 sharps, F, C, G, D, A. A is our sharp there. That's not A sharp, so that doesn't fit B major. That's A natural. That means it's a half step smaller. It's not a major seventh, it's a minor seventh. Again, B to A natural matches B major. Sorry, B to A sharp matches B major, so that's a major interval. B to A natural does not. It's a half step smaller. In fact, B to A natural matches B minor, which only has a sharp on F and C. Because that matches B minor and not B major, that's a minor interval. Just 2 more, we're almost done. This is G sharp to A, that's only 2 letters, so that's a type of second. Now our key signature method, our scale method, has worked out incredibly well so far. We haven't had to laboriously count the number of whole steps and half steps. And if you've ever tried to count the number of whole steps and half steps in an interval like a sixth or a seventh, by the time you're done counting, you forget where you started. But we found out before that both keys, both major and minor keys, have seconds that are major seconds. What that means is while the key signature works really, really well for almost every interval, it does not work very well for seconds, but that's okay. Because as laborious as it is to count half steps in a sixth or a seventh, it is lightning fast to count half steps in a second. So for seconds, and if you really feel like it, thirds, counting whole steps and half steps is probably the fastest way to get the right answer. If you do use the key signature method, you're just always working on what the major second is and adjusting from there. which still works. It still is a good system. It's just for this interval, it's probably the one time where it's not as fast to do it that way. So we have G sharp to A natural. And we just think G sharp up to A, that's only a half step. And if you have a second that's only a half step apart, well, that's smaller than what our key signatures would tell us. That is a minor second. So again, a half step second is a minor second. Here we have D to E. And D to E is a whole step because there would be a D sharp or an E flat in between them. A whole step second is a major second. And that would be the one that would match the key signatures if I used my key signature method. I could have started there and then figured out does it match, and if not, it's a half step smaller and then it's minor. That works fine. But most people can count whole steps and half steps pretty well with seconds because they're so short. Looking through this, we figured out all of these simply by knowing what each one's key signature was, what each one's scale was, which notes were sharped or flat in them. And we asked this question. In the key of the bottom note, what is the top note? Is it sharp? Is it flat? Is it natural? And based on does it match my key signature, I know, is it that interval? If I'm using a major key signature to compare them and it matches, I know it's going to work for that major key, major and perfect intervals. If I'm using a minor key signature to match and it matches, then I know it's going to fit with the intervals in that key. Minor third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, minor sixth, minor seventh. It's all about determining, do those notes match that key?